when did you? We were speaking before we got started. You were mentioning about your Asperger's.
Yeah.
When did you first notice something was up?
I personally didn't overly. It's more other people and certain stress factors that come into play. And getting diagnosed was it was a good thing and a bad thing, because it kind of answers some questions, explains traits and how I am and fucking mannerisms and whatnot. But also on the same token, it was a pain in the cunt, because before...
Is that the technical term?
Yes.
Right,
That's straight for the NHS. Before, if I was having to deal with a situation that was difficult, I just felt unwell. I just thought I had eaten something wrong. Because I get quite hot and I feel a bit nauseous. And
what sort of things? What age are you? Like what ages would you say this was happening? Like give me
all my life.
So what's the first time you remember that you think, I'm getting hot, something's happened?
Probably like between 7 and 10.
Right.
Like kind of like we'd go up Kirkcaldy to the shopping centre with my mum, and I would just get loads of folk around you, loads of noise, and you just start getting hot and bothered and a bit. And I would always just put down that I had no eating yet, or I'd maybe just not feeling great. And that was fine because it didn't restrict me doing anything. Whereas now, I know. So now, because I know this is going to happen, I get anxious ahead of time because I know what's coming and I can't be arsed with it, but there's nothing I can do about it. So even like coming here, like I says to you,
when you say like you can't be arsed with it, is it like you don't want to face it? That's your instinct?
No, because I'm all for exposure. Like you don't get any better without exposure. But the problem is going somewhere, I know what's coming. So I get anxious about getting anxious, which is really stupid because then all I'm doing is having double anxiousness for something that probably isn't actually even going to bother me at all. But because it might bother me, it bothers me, if that makes sense.
Well, I don't know because I've never experienced that.
No, but
I'm imagining what you're describing would be that you know that you're going into a situation where you're going to have a build-up.
No, it might not though. It's getting anxious about the possibility that I might get anxious and have a meltdown or whatever. So
is that not quite like a
taxing.
Take its toll on you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pain in the arse and it's a daily occurrence. But there's nothing I can do about it.
That must be heavy on the old mind.
Not really, because
even just from an energy point of view, it's a lot of energy to put into something.
Yeah, but the good thing about being autistic is you have no ends of energy, so it's fine.
Is that right?
I don't really have a down point in a day. Like the minimal sleep, up till yawn time, up early.
So, like, what signs of what was your sort of traits that you thought, right, we maybe need to? What did you notice you were doing differently from the people like your friends and your pals at school?
Across my siblings and that, I was always like, and I don't really have. It's hard to. That's a question for my mum basically, but I think she kind of felt a bit guilty when I got diagnosed because I was just difficult. I was just me, and there was no autism back in the 90s, really. Like, obviously,
what age were you got diagnosed?
Mid-20s.
So
it was later
on,
because you were just difficult. My mum was just like, you were just you. You were just different to your brothers and sisters. There was no.
What was different about you?
Just like I think my temperament, how I would be in situations, lack of empathy. I don't really know. She did tell me, because obviously when the woman at the hospital had a long chat with my mum, and so there was paperwork to kind of what the chat was when I was a kid, but we're going back like 8 years now, 10 years with that paperwork, so I can't really remember a lot of what my mum put down, and they don't really know where to put me on the spectrum. Well, it's not even a spectrum anymore, they just call it ASD, but obviously when I was diagnosed, you had Canner's, high functioning, and Asperger's. But
what is ASD?
Autism spectrum disorder.
Right.
So they just put it under this blanket term now, and just everyone's got ASD. So you don't get, you have Asperger's, you have Canner's, you have high functioning. It's just, you have your ASD now. That's it, just one spectrum. because the difference between the three, so high functioning and Asperger's, the difference is when you start talking. If you start talking normally, like is it neurodivergent? Basically like a normal brain person, you would be high functioning, or is it the other way? One of them, if you started talking at a normal age, you would be Asperger's or high functioning. If there was a delay in your speaking, you would be the other one. And then Kanner's autism is if your IQ is below a certain level. Right. Kind of you get the people they'll be in care. They'll never live alone
Yeah.
because they can't, just because they'll probably